23. 23. Three. Next. Connect together. And then we took this and folded up 23. Rounded. This. So what we're gonna do. So the piece of backing. Okay, so we're gonna sew this. Okay, and we'll sew the front. So I think what I have to do is I have to pull this back down a bit. Okay. The outer fabric actually goes into the lining, so we have to kind of pull it inside and then sew. So when you sew, you make sure that you get over here both the pieces. There's two pieces here. I'm gonna sew from here to okay. Make sure this is 5 centimeters.